All right. Um, well, first of all, the first question is why have you decided to run?
Yeah, I've been interested in politics for quite a while, but definitely the last, I want to say about 5 years have been pretty concerning from the genocide in Gaza and the lack of response to that in
Yeah,
excuse me, in the Biden administration to what's going on currently, everything that's going on currently with the Trump administration and the seemingly the lack of fight you see from other Democratic politicians. I
yeah,
thought, hey, I like talking about politics with people, generally just kind of random people. I try to there's a lot of, let's say, buzzwords that sometimes people they lock onto, and then they may not be as amenable to certain positions. But I've kind of learned how to speak in a more generalized way, but still trying to push people in the way and how I see things, and
yeah,
I feel like I've had a lot of success with that. So those two things, and then kind of the last like big thing that pushed me or made me really think like, hey, maybe I should actually run for Congress would be after Trump won, there were a lot of Democratic consultants who were going on TV and mainstream media who were basically saying like, hey, there's a the problem was trans people. We need to let go of the trans issue. We need to speak, quote unquote, like more to regular people. And in my mind, I'm saying, oh, okay, well, if they're dropping a minoritized group, also while doing a genocide on another group, it kind of,
yeah,
even without saying it, says, hey, if you're politically expendable to the point of genocide, then you're politically expendable. And I thought something like that, the country, I said, well, hey, at least I feel like I could fight for that, or fight for the right issues, marginalized people, um, and anti-corporate influence. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, with what's been going on, I'm like, hey, let's just see if I can do it. I think I have a good message. I have like a plan in terms of what kind of stuff I'm going for. Uh, it's all policy based. So I was like, yeah, let's just see how it goes. This area seems kind of ripe. It's not the strongest Democratic stronghold. There is a lot of institutionalized powers here still, but it's not, I think, as
yeah,
overwhelming as it may be in other places. So, yeah.
yeah. What are the main issues you want to prioritize?
Yeah, so so excuse me. My main I guess you could say policy agenda would be something I'm
Yeah,
calling the Rebuilding America project. And
yeah,
it consists of the seven key tenets, which would involve building national public housing. As every city in America, there's a homeless issue, let alone people can't, younger people and older people just can't afford like a place of their own to live. Even, for example, my parents, they're in Colorado, but
yeah,
um, their house, it's the same house we grew up in. I have an older sister and a younger brother. So it's a five-kid house. It's like 3 stories. It's a nice house, but they're older and they can't, if they sell their house, they can't live in the same area. And I'm sure I mean, I have a neighbor who's kind of dealing with the same
yeah,
affliction where he's, yeah, if he sells his house, he'd have to move farther and it could be harder to live his regular life. Also, it'd be Medicare for all, as
yeah,
we've needed for quite a while. And I'm someone who's had to deal with the medical system my whole life. I have asthma. I have a like a skin, basically atopic dermatitis. That's the way they put it. Bad allergies. I'm constantly, I think about the marvel of modern medicine. I probably would have died a long time ago. And I just understand how difficult and frustrating it is when you pay insurance every month. When it's finally time for you to get your care, you're arguing with the insurance company about a medication the doctor says you need, and you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, and it almost feels
Yeah.
like that's built into the system where you just end up quitting after enough frustration. Or and even if you do get your medication or you have to go to the hospital for some reason, you'll be like, oh, well, hey, hold on, I have health insurance, and they're like, yeah, we know it's still a bunch of money. And I'm right now, I've been married. It would have been about 5 years from a few days ago. And my wife, she's in the military, and they have TRICARE in the military, for example.
Yeah,
And
VA, I guess. Yes.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, why can't we just have this nationwide? You would have a bigger pool, so you can have lower costs. A single payer means that the government would have uh, a bigger not demand, but basically they can argue for better contracts with medication suppliers, and it'd be
Yeah.
cheaper overall if it came over your taxes, mainly due to the bigger pool, and it wouldn't be for profit, which as health insurance corporations, they're still corporations in the end of the day, and they
Yeah.
need to profit more this year than last year. And the best way they can do that in a corporation like healthcare would be to not provide care. So it's like, okay, it's not beneficial to the vast majority of society, and we
Yeah.
can actually have a functioning healthcare system. Then the third one would be universal childcare. With I personally don't have any kids, but I know my brother has a kid, for example. I know people with kids, and childcare costs are pretty crazy. They're let
Yeah.
alone it's not like a lot of it goes to the people watching the children. Uh, and it's like, well, we as a government, this is a necessary function of society because I have it in one of my videos that should be coming up, but I make the um, argument that, hey, with childcare costs that are happening now, essentially you have to pay in order, if you're an American parent, you have to pay in order to work 40 hours. And that's,
Yeah.
it seems, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Nobody went, I was always taught you shouldn't pay to go to work, but even if it's in a more roundabout this way, that's
Yeah.
kind of what you're doing. Um, And then the fourth one would be free public college and more federal funding for K through 12. Public college, it's um, both for student debt reasons, but also the world is getting more complex day by day, especially with the expansion of technology.
Yeah.
And with that, you're going to need people with more skills. Um, uh, uh, and it's not just younger people because if college costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for some people, you're limiting who can become a doctor, for example, because that's a lot of schooling. And if you're not already rich, you really, really, really have to want to become a doctor, or you can't just try it out and discover you're good at it. So you kind of limit your
Yeah.
graduates on that level. And then also, I used to have I worked a few jobs, but I had a job where I did tech support for Morgan Stanley brokers, and basically the point of the job, or most of the job, would be I would log in. I'd have to remote into their computers, fix whatever errors and all of that. And I really saw a lot of these people were older, and I really saw like the tech illiteracy of
Yeah.
our older population, which um, makes sense if you really think about it, because it's like, hey, what if a when you're a kid, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not really into computers like that. And then by the time you're 40, it's the computer is the necessary technology in the world. If you're not directly using it in your job, it's very hard to learn. And then I
Yeah.
had a computer class I took in community college once, but I signed up for the wrong class. And it was basically like a how to use a computer class, and most of the people in there were older. And I was like, this is great, actually. You could have older people restructure their careers, do more stuff online on the computer and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and not be subject to kind of being lost in this world, which I mean, every single day or every single year, it's going to be more integrated with computers and technology and stuff like that. So they're just going to be more lost. And so both for younger and older people, why not? We have people who want to teach. We could, I mean, especially with this war in Iran, we could have funded universal public college for
Yeah.
the very least a year, and it's only a month of military spending. Uh, and Also, college is good for meeting people that you may not have met, would have met in your regular life. It could help with certain bigotries or apprehensions going towards certain people. So
Yeah.
another good thing. And then also for K through 12 in America, a lot of public schools are funded through property taxes, which means that you will get a very big disparity in terms of the quality of education you can
Yeah.
get as a kid, depending on if you live by richer people or not. And it's like, well, if we did this federally, had a minimum, or at the very least a, a standard throughout the nation,
Yeah.
once again, this will be good for society in general. People will be more competent. They'll be able to read better, and you won't have to worry about people getting lost to public schools and things like charter schools, where at the end of the day, those are still for profit as well.
Yeah.
Um, the fifth one would be more investment into public transportation. So that would be, I would like to do free and fast busing and local transportation, as many people don't have cars, or basically in America, if you don't have a car, you're pretty screwed.
Yeah.
And even then, if you have a car, if your car is not reliable, it'd be harder to go longer distance. One mess up can ruin your entire life if your like engine goes out, or you pop a tire, you don't have the funds to
Yeah.
replace that. You could lose your job. You could be in a pretty bad scenario. So for locally, yeah, you can have free and fast busing. For inner city travel, like from city to city, you can do light rails, more funding in the light rails. Cities that do have light rails, even if they're not all the way up to par, it's still a great way to get up to around the city, and you could do that nationwide, and then or yeah, in different cities nationwide. And then for nationwide, I'd like to do high speed rail, as I mean, you can else in the world you see a functioning
Yeah.
metro system, you see how outdated we are here, and you're more subject to the costs of the airline companies, which again are corporate entities who will raise prices, have try to pack planes as much as they can by having smaller seats, and excuse me, and things that they wouldn't charge for before, like on Southwest for bags, they're now charging for bags now.
Yeah.
So you just have high speed rail to get around the nation, and it won't be as bad. You won't be at the mercy of the airlines and things like that. Also, my sixth one would be building a national fiber network. In terms of fiber internet, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know we paid for this in the 90s with I want to say it was the Information Technology Act. I could be wrong, but it was in 96. And we gave companies kind of free rein, said, hey, we'll give you money to build fiber. Um, they got, instead, the companies got deregulated. That was supposed to be kind of like a bribe for that, and they kind of pocketed the money. I used to
Yeah.
work in telecom. I had a job where excuse me, went from city to city to audit their data centers for this company. It was called Level 3. I think they're called Lumen now. And you see with that, you would see the failing internet infrastructure of America, where so much of it is based off of
Yeah.
the phone lines. When we paid for fiber, I'm like, well, I have fiber now. And the fact that I could have had fiber cheaper about 20 or so years ago, you see just how much it could limit to what the average person can do when we're still going off
Yeah.
of phone lines, and you have data caps and rising costs still. Also, this would bring new jobs in terms of laying fiber, people who have to create that, manufacture the fiber and stuff as well. So yeah, that would be the sixth one, and then the seventh one is kind of more of a all-encompassing deal, which would be infrastructure. And I thought of this to implement as quickly as possible. So for our military, like I said, I'm a military spouse, and even prior to here, I was in Colorado Springs, and when I was going to the community college there, I was in a SolidWorks class, and they had a lot of military people there. And you
Yeah,
learn that the military has a bunch of people with degrees, they have trade skills, and yeah, degrees in trade skills and a
yeah,
whole variety of talents. And um, we also have bases across the nation. So if it's like, hey, we want to start our infrastructure project as quickly as possible, we start with
yeah,
the military. We utilize the people who have these degrees and skills. We ship them into areas of need. So the example I usually use is for nurses, as Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act has closed a lot of hospitals due to the
yeah,
Medicaid cuts. And with that, I'm like, okay, well, we can use our military nurses, ship them to areas in need, have them instantly kind of staff where they're needed, help people out, military nurses and doctors, and then other, mechanics or construction workers or anything like that. You
yeah,
can once again send them to places that are in need and um, fill those places while we supplement that with the students from our free colleges that we'll have, the people who already have degrees, and with that, I also want to boost the union membership. But I don't think the answer is like, well, you should just like go to union. You should have an incentive for that. So
yeah,
I would argue for that, which is, hey, if you're in a union and you work with the project, you get a 4-day work week. You don't have to negotiate, no questions asked, 4-day work week. And with that, just as someone who's worked plenty of jobs, you realize a 5-day 8 hour, or sorry, yeah, 5-day 8 hour work week, you start to realize, oh, okay, I gotta slow down. I can't work as hard as I can every day, or I'm gonna burn myself out instantly. But with a 4-day work week, I think you'll get a lot more productivity from people because
yeah,
you can put more of your all into the work, into the day. You could still have a rest day of working, and then still have your regular weekend as well. So yeah, that's kind of my main platform that I'm running on. Other like supplementary issues that aren't part of, like I said, that would be called the Rebuilding America Project would be an arms embargo for Israel. It's
yeah,
past time that we've done that. They're violating our Leahy laws. Um, and yeah, they're committing war crimes. And at this point, they've, as Marco Rubio has said, pulling us into more wars. And I don't want to say like there's a this is a how to put it, we still control Israel in the end of the day, right? It is
yeah,
not it's not like a foreign influence corrupting our politicians. It is a I would say in the end of the day, a vehicle for the military industrial complex to basically have a slush fund. Israel's kind of the perfect example. They've been using a bunch of arms the past few years, let alone throughout their history. And that's just great for our arms manufacturers because, yeah, they get to sell more, they have bigger contracts. Even both Biden and Trump had gone around Congress to supply arms for Israel.
yeah,
It's not like I view it more as, yes, there are people who are ideologically for ethnically cleansing the Palestinians, but still, at the end of the day, at least in my opinion, this is a vehicle like any other corporate influence. This is a vehicle for profit. And
yeah,
everything else is more so a ad or marketing to justify that spending. Um, and then on
yeah,
top of arms embargo for Israel, it'd be abolishing ICE. This is basically a rogue institution at this point. They're one of the most, if not the most well-funded agency that we have, at least for the next 4 years. I would say they get about $130 billion. And once again, that money could be used in so many other ways rather than
yeah,
kidnapping our citizens and sending them to either torture camps in El Salvador or having them in concentration camps here. I'd like
Yeah.
to do amnesty for our undocumented immigrants as the kind of in a similar sense to Israel, the immigration debate that we have in America. I view it, at least in terms of morality and maybe even like criminality or whatever they try to advertise it as.
Yeah.
It is it's a red herring or a fake argument for the real issue, which is it creates a two-tiered labor system, right? Where um, for undocumented migrants that you can pay them less because you can pay them less than minimum wage. You can, because yeah, they don't have their documents. There's not really anyone they can directly report it to. You can abuse them by overworking them. Like you could physically abuse them or even sexually abuse
Yeah.
them. And if you ever feel like they're getting out of line, you just call ICE on them and you get a new crop of workers because people still need money to operate in our society. And it's like instead of, and then also with the regular or the documented citizens, um, in certain jobs, you're going to be competing with essentially, I don't want to say like indentured servant, but basically indentured servitudes. I guess they get paid a little bit more, but still they're kind of held hostage by their employers. So it's like, yeah, I grew up in around a lot of immigrants, and it's like, yeah, they work just as hard as anyone else. They shouldn't be afraid of fighting back at their job if they feel like they're getting abused and taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And plenty of people have been here for years. I mean, we can see with these ICE raids, people have been here for decades and they're getting snatched up out of their houses, out of their workplaces. And it's like, well, we just document them, because it's not going to be too hard to document someone, we can make, we wouldn't need an organization like ICE. And we, as average citizens, will have a bigger population of people who can fight for workers' rights with us. Um, and then the last kind of supplementary issue, I mean, I have more, but at least the main things I'm focusing on would be making Election Day a holiday, um, a federal holiday. It seems the way that we have elections now that they don't want people to vote.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that if you're working in 8 hours for a day, right, and then you got to stand in line at the one of, four polling
Yeah.
stations in a however many wide mile radius, it's going to discourage a lot of people from voting. Versus if you like, okay, you got all day, you can go do some other stuff, and then vote at the end of the day. It'll make lines shorter,
Yeah.
easier overall. And I mean, who wouldn't also like another holiday? But the main purpose for that would be to basically increase the democratic process for everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah,
In Spain, we do have the election days are on Sundays. So
yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah,
the
so it
best
makes it
day,
easier.
to, yeah.
Mm.
Well, what is your what would be your analysis of the foreign policy right now, and of course, the Trump administration and what they're doing with civil liberties and civil rights?
Yeah. Um, on foreign policy, it's kind of, I would say, the end state of maybe what America has been doing for quite a while.
Yeah,
The thing about Trump is that he's just not smart enough to dress it up in the other justifications that we may have had for war.
yeah,
A sophisticated propaganda operation in order to have people think they're actually, for the war on terror, to have people think they're fighting for revenge for 9/11 and not the profits of, oil companies, Halliburton, drug manufacturers, as they were guarding poppy
yeah,
fields and things like that. With this, Trump just kind of says it out loud, where he goes, "Okay, we're going to Venezuela for the oil." Like I said, Marco Rubio says, "Oh, Israel's going to attack
yeah,
Iran, so we may as well preempt it." And this has been a long-standing policy that many of our politicians have wanted for a while. but once again, Trump just kind of oversteps it and makes it the might makes right kind of policy that we've had. He makes it um, less, um, or he just basically said it directly. So there, and it's also just more vulgar in general because you're just once again after funding a genocide where many people have taught were they were trying to propagandize that like, oh no, these are necessary. You don't understand Hamas. They're the most craziest terrorists on the planet. That's why we need to genocide everyone. And it's like, okay, now you
Yeah,
just know that this is imperial conquest, and there's no way to dress it up because they're basically saying it outright. Similar with the civil liberties, he's definitely jumping over our like I with Trump and most of the things he's doing. He's not, in my opinion, some guy who just popped up, right? He wasn't he and
yeah,
started doing things that nobody was doing. He's just once again he can't slow walk the things he wants to do, and he's not sophisticated enough to obfuscate the real reasons why he's doing it. So,
yeah,
with for example, at the beginning of his administration, there were people getting like deported, for example, for protesting Israel or even like slightly critiquing them, let alone recently with the Charlie Kirk assassination.
yeah,
From I read, that was like the biggest crackdown on free speech in at least American recent history, with however many people got fired. I think it was over 600 people got fired from their jobs for any random post. At least on the Israel aspect, like I said, he's just more ramping the conditions up. For example, during the Biden administration, I want to say over 3,000 students were arrested for protesting Israel, let alone the institution. There are plenty of institutions who were, doxing students, going after them directly, trying to pull their funding. So he's, yeah, just once again, stepping over the line in terms of um, the with the police. He's very vocal about basically wanting to let them do what they want. And
yeah,
for many different communities across America, in their minds, they're going, okay, well, this has been the case. That's in many ways what the Black Lives Matter protests were in 2020
yeah,
and prior, where it's like, hey, we have a unaccountable system of people who are able to surveil, abuse, and even kill in certain situations with impunity. But once again, yeah, with Trump, he just says it directly, and there's no way you can hide it,
yeah.
the real reason. So yeah, that would be I guess my answer there.
All right. Well, the last question, because we don't have a lot of time,
Yeah, sorry, I
would
was
be,
talking a lot.
yeah, but it's great. That's great. I don't have to, I don't have to speak. Well, the last question is if you get elected on your first days, what are the main things that you want to do on the first few days?
Yeah, arms embargo for Israel,
Yeah,
for sure. Um, Trying to abolish ICE, or at least argue that directly. Um, Other things would be trying to pass Medicare for all. Um, in the first few days, I would I would like to push because the plan I was talking about, that's in many ways essentially a jobs program, and the job situation is getting pretty dire in America.
yeah,
Really, really advocate for that. And I think you could work both ways in terms of, hey, these are good jobs that I'm trying to help create, and they would help with um, pressing problems in the country. And I think, yeah, that those things would be, I guess, my main focus there.
all right. Well, thank you very much for answering all my questions.
Definitely. Thank you for your time. Yeah. I
So
appreciate
have a
it.
great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.